All right, you guys, we're going to go over 226 to 235. Is that the wrong one? I'm sorry. 220. No, that's correct. 226 to 235. Make sure you guys change that on your paper in case you don't have it. All right, let's go and take a look at 226. What are the factors of this? So we're back to this again. All right, so looking at this right here, you guys, we're going to start off with something like this. Equals 0. Now, gonna draw a plus sign. So the two numbers here multiplied together have to be equal to the first number. So I could do 2x and x. That's a possibility because 2x times x is 2x squared. Now the number over here, if I split it, have to be a negative 54. So you think about what times what gives me a negative 54. And there are several different options if you think about it. You could do like a negative 6 and a 9. You could do a positive 6 and a negative 9. You could do like a negative 2 and a, let's see, 27. You could do a positive 2 and a negative 27. Do you see there's like a lot of options there that you can use? You could do like a negative 1 and a 54. There's just a lot of options, okay? But one of those options, when you cross multiply and you add them together, have to give you the middle number, which is a positive 3x. That's what you're aiming for, okay? So I'm gonna do some guesses here. So let's try the first option. So if I cross multiply this and I add them together, 2x and 9 is 18x minus 6x. Does that give me 3x? No. So guess what? That's not a good option. So let's try the next one. 2x times negative 9 is a negative 18x. X times 6 is a positive 6x. Does that equal positive 3x? No. So that's not a good option. So don't use that one. Let's go into the next one. Here we go. 2x times 27 is a 54x. X times negative 2 is a negative 2x. Does that give me a 3x? No, unfortunately, it does not. So then you're like, which one could it possibly be? Well, think of other ones. Maybe what if I decide to switch this, huh? Like if I put, instead of a 6 and a 9 here, what if I put the 9 up here and like maybe, I don't know, like a negative 6 down here? Or if I put a negative 9 up here, maybe a positive 6 down there. Do you see how you just switch them as well, you guys? So let's try that. 2x times 6 is a 12x. X times negative 9 is a negative 9x. Does that give me 3x? Yes, it does. So this one is the winning combination. So I'm highlighting this one, and you're like, okay, so what is your answer, Callahan? Your answer is always going to be a cross. So there's your first answer. Here's your other answer. So your first one is going to be 2x minus 9, and the bottom one is x plus 6. That is factoring, okay? You have different options. You got to try, guess and check, but just remember, first number, what times what gives me the first number, what times what gives me the last number, and when I cross multiply, they have to equal the middle number. Let's try the next one. I want you guys to go ahead and highlight the important information here. Okay, so what is the factor form of this? So if you look at this right here, 4x squared. So what times what gives me a 4x squared? Well, I could do a 4x and an x. That gives me a 4x squared. Take a look over here. That's 32x. If this party has an x, that has to be a 32. Okay, next, if I take a look over here, this one has a 9. Uh-oh, 9 and 4, there's nothing I could do to multiply that out to get that. So maybe I should switch a little bit. So maybe I should put a 4x here and an x here instead, okay? So if 4x is here, then 4x times what gives me a 32? Well, that will have to be an 8, right? So if you hit a roadblock, you guys, go back and just switch the order. Now let's take a look over here, okay? Negative 9x. This is already an x up here, so that has to be a negative 9, because negative 9 times x is negative 9x. Last one, negative 72. Does negative 9 times 8 gives me negative 72? Yeah, it does. So this is like a perfect little puzzle. You just have to move things around until you get to the nice little puzzle. So then what is your answer? Your answer is going to be going across. X plus 8. Going down. 4x minus 9. So which answer shows that? D is the only one that is available. All right, let's take a look at 228. Go ahead and highlight the important parts of this. All right, so which polynomial is prime? This is what prime means. Not like Amazon Prime, but like Math Prime, okay? Prime means it could be only divided by itself, which like if it's 4 divided by 4, or it could be divided by 1. That's what prime is. So if you take a look at this part right here, you can actually do this by grouping. I'm going to group that first part right there. So with the first part, I could take out a 2x. If I take out that 2x, I will have a 5x minus 2. And then if I take a look at the second part right here, what can I take out? I could take out a 3, and I'll have an x plus 2. The reason why this is prime is these two numbers here are not the same, and you can't group them together because they're prime. This is factoring by grouping, and in this situation, it just does not work. Like if I try out for A, for example, this was not prime. Let me show you why. if I go ahead and I group that right there, what can I take out? I could take out an x squared, and I'll have an x plus 3. And then if I take a look at this part right here, what can I take out between a 2x and a 6? I could take it out 2, which will leave me with x plus 3. But do you see how this is not prime? Because they're exactly the same inside. So you go ahead and group these two numbers together like that. And the same numbers on the inside is like that. So this is not prime. This one is prime. Cannot group them together. So your answer is C as a cat. All right, next question, number 229. Okay, so this is the same one again. All right. All right, looking at this right here, y is d prime, because if you take a look at it, what can I take out there? I could take out an x, which will leave me with a 3x plus 1. Then if I take a look over here, what can I take out? I could take out a -3. If I take out that -3, I have an x minus 1. And again, do you see how these two numbers are not the same? So you can group them together. So it is not, it is prime. It's not factorable. And that is your answer. All right, let's take a look at the last question before your break, you guys. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the next part here. All right, the first 3 steps is determined by the solution of the system and this. You have 2 different equations here. Algebraically is shown on the table, which represent the solution to this equation. So all you have to do, this is really easy. You just go to step 3. Step 3 basically says 0 equals x plus 1, right? You have to set the other one to 0 as well. 0 equals x plus 3. Then you're like, okay, so then what do I do next? What's opposite of plus 1? Minus 1. So your first answer is x equals -1. Subtract the 3 on both sides. X equals -3. So which one there has 2 points that says -1 for x and -3 for x? Do you see the -3 right here and the -1 right there? So it is C as in cat. This is saying x is equal to -3 and y equals -1, and that's not the case. Both x's are equal to -1 and -3, so it's not A. So don't get tricked by that. So C as in cat is the only answer that's possible. All right, you guys, so go ahead and start your reflection for today. All right, you guys, I'm going to share you max 5 questions for 230 to 235. So with your highlighters, take a look at 231. Which represents the solution to this equation and this equation? So the correct answer is B, which means x equals 50, or 5, not 50, and y equals 0. So what that means is anytime you see a x in yellow, you replace that with the number 5. And every time you see a y in orange, you replace that with 0. So that's what I do. And you have 2 different equations. So I'm going to draw a line right here. So your first equation is y, which is 0 is equal to 5 squared minus 2 times 5 minus 15. Your second equation is 0 is equal to 8 times 5 minus 40. Make sure you copy this part down. If you do not have any of your handwritten notes, it'll be chalked, okay? 25 times 20, 5 times 5 is 25. 2 times 5 is 10. On the right side, 8 times 5 is 40. Does 40 minus 40 equal 0? Yes, it does. On the left side, 25 minus 10 is a 15. Does 15 minus 15 equal 0? Yes, it does. And that's why your answer in this case will be B as in boy. All right, 232. Which exponential function is represented by this table of values? So take a look at the answers, take a look at the table, and see where is the connection there. Okay, so clearly the answer is A, and your A is f of x is equal to 3 times 2 to the x. So make sure you copy that part down. So this is your equation. So that means whenever you see an x right here in orange, you want to put in any of these numbers in orange on the left side because that's x. And then whenever you see f of x, which are these numbers over here in yellow, they should equal each other. So just to check the first one, let's pick 0 and 3. Okay, so looking at this, f of x is 3. 3 times 2 to the x is 0. Does it equal to each other? And if you're not sure, we have to do a little bit of work. So 2 to the 0 power, any number to the 0 power, some people will say, oh, it is 0. Well, guess what? You're wrong. No, it's always equal to 1. Any number to the 0 power is 1. So this is 1. Does 3 times 1 equal 3? Yes, it does. And that is a correct answer. Now, if I were to check with the next point right there, it's saying f of x is 6, 3 times 2 to the x power, which is 1. Well, I know 2 to the 1 power is just 2. Does 2 times 3 equal 6? Yes, it does. And that's why your correct answer is A as an apple. $233. Go ahead and highlight the important information, you guys. Okay, which exponential function has a growth of 1/2? So what you're looking at is 1/2 is equal to 0.5, right? And so if it has a growth, you have to have that 1/2 inside a parenthesis, okay? So then looking at this right here, this one has a 2. That's not the correct answer. Which one here has 0.5? I see this one right there. Oops. This one right there. The correct answer has to be A. And it's not B because you see how right here, it actually starts this at 1 right there. So it's not 1/2, it's at 1. So A as an apple is your correct answer. All right, 234. Oh, for crying out loud, I don't like this question at all. All right, so what we're gonna do is, if you're looking for X, this is what you're trying to find, okay? X stands for the average household age of 40 and older. Well, you don't have any numbers in the second chart, but you do have it on this chart. You see how that one is 23, but that's not your answer, okay? You gotta take the number, which is the average household that are 40 years and older, divided by the total. Now, I know that this is 23. It's right there. But what is the total of that? 77. So what's 23 divided by 77? It equals 0.298. So if I round that up, which one is that going to be? And there's only one answer. Last one, you guys. Here we go. Oh, dang, I don't like this question either. So take a moment, read it, highlight it. All right, so Given that a child spends at least 1 hour playing outside, what is the probability round to the nearest hundredth that the child spends less than 1 hour? So less than 1 hour is right here per hour on electronics. Less than 1 hour is right here, so that's 6. So okay, so we're looking at less than 1 hour outside. So less than 1 day, less than 1 hour is outside. Let's see. Given that spends at least 1 hour per day, at least 1 hour per day. So at least 1 hour per day outside, at least 1 per outside is right here. And you're looking at spends less than 1 hour on electronic, less than 1 hour on electronics, right there. Okay, so these are the two we're looking for. And the number that coincides with that is number 14 divided by the total, which is 16. So 14 divided by 16, what is that going to give you? It's going to give you 0.875. If you round that up, which one is it closest to? And that is it, you guys. You are all done.